was a third grade PLC with teachers from all different schools, and what they decided to work on was expansive explanations. And the reason why they picked that is because they wanted their students to be able to see themselves more in the science and be able to add their own evidence and really go deeper, because they were finding that their students' explanations tended to be pretty surface. What we zoomed in on was this particular PLC that I was helping facilitate, and then there's a video of it, so then they watched the video, and there's this part of it where a teacher asks about, I think I still need to know more about what justice-centered teaching is, and, asks me to find out more about it. And I said, oh yeah, sure, I'll email Jessica, but then they had a whole conversation defining justice-centered teaching right after that. This isn't what we're doing, but the teachers have this idea that we're like pouring these great big fancy ideas into their heads. The model is showing how instead of it's theory and then practice like separate, that it's going around like this: theory, practice, using the PLCs. And this kind of in blue, these are all the things that are being added in to the PLC as it's going around, or being created within the PLC. What we learned from this PLC, and I think what it's going to help do to inform us as we go forward with teachers, is that the way that we are presenting our professional learning really mirrors the way that they're going to be working with their students, right? So if you really look at it and pull it apart, the teachers are working with students to help them see themselves in the science and expand their own explanations, and they really did the same thing themselves. So they expanded their own explanation of justice-centered teaching, and they saw themselves in it, and they had their own examples of justice-centered teaching.
One of the things that was really exciting about looking at the teachers' written reflections that they did after their PLC meetings was that how they talked about practice and what they talked about reflected the same shifts that we saw in their PLC meetings. So in all of their reflections, they expressed gratitude, excitement, positivity for working with their colleagues. And in those earlier PLCs, the focus was really on the teacher moves and strategies. But they didn't really elaborate on how they might use these or why they might use these. And in their third and fourth PLCs, they started actually asking questions about their wonderings. So, we still have questions around students' funds of knowledge, or I still am wondering about this question we asked about identity and what this might look like in my classroom. And in later PLCs, we saw not only were they trying to answer those questions, but they were attending to issues of power and power dynamics within their classroom. They were thinking about student agency and ownership. So they talked about many of the same strategies that they mentioned in earlier PLCs, but they were really going deeper and saying, how might we use these strategies, or why might we use these strategies to support our students in sense making? So this reflected a shift from more of a show and tell in their PLCs, where they're saying, here's some strategies, here's my classroom, to taking an inquiry stance and trying as a group to understand what does justice-centered teaching look like in our classroom.